Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. Today I'd like to talk about the i3 window manager. Probably most people use a desktop environment like KDE, I mean on Linux, like KDE, XFCE or something like that. And in every desktop environment there is a window manager which is responsible for placing the windows and managing and handling the windows. But you have an option to only have a window manager. And this is i3. So if you have i3, I mean pure i3 without really any desktop environment, all you have got is a window manager. And why is it good? Because of course your computer doesn't have to load a whole desktop environment, only a window manager, so your whole operating system is much lighter, is much more much quicker. And also, if you only have a window manager, it depends on what kind of window manager you have. But Windows, when you open Windows, they are going to be organized and placed automatically for you. For example, if I open Windows in KDE, which uses the KWin window manager, or in Linux Mint, which uses the Muffin window manager, I have to place the windows myself wherever I want to have them. But for example, in i3, if I open, let's say, a terminal with the super key plus enter, if I have only one window open, it fills the whole screen. But if I open one more window, you see, it does window tiling automatically. And this is really cool because I don't have to be worried about where my windows are. They are placed automatically, and you can just keep opening windows like this, which is of course not a good idea because it's not useful. But in i3, actually in these kind of window managers, you mostly control your windows and actually everything with your keyboard, with keyboard shortcuts. And for example, if I want to place windows in a horizontal arrangement instead of a vertical, I mean the other way around, instead of in a vertical arrangement, I can do it with the super key V and super key H. I can change the orientation of the window that is going to be open. So this is pretty cool because I can arrange my windows however I want them very easily. I don't have to drag and do stuff with my mouse. And it's not for everybody because there are a lot of people who like to use the mouse, who doesn't like to use the keyboard that much, who doesn't like, for example, the terminal. But I just like I like the terminal. I like to use keyboard shortcuts. It's really something I enjoy, and that's why i3 is a very, very good window manager for me. Actually, on this computer, this is my desktop PC, and it is running Fedora with KDE. Because I have always liked KDE very much. I still like KDE, but I started to play with i3 a few weeks ago, and I really got to like it. Excuse me. So, as I have said, it's not for everybody, but if you like to use the keyboard, if you like to use keyboard shortcuts, then I think it is definitely for you. And there are a lot of tiling window managers like this. I should have said it earlier. This is a so-called tiling window manager because it does the tiling for you automatically. Okay, and there are keyboard shortcuts for opening windows, for closing windows. For example, Super Shift Q closes your windows. Okay. And the cool stuff about i3 is that you configure all these behaviors, the keyboard shortcuts and everything in a configuration file. Let's have a look at it. It's inside, come on, config i3 config. Okay, this is your configuration file for i3. So what I did, I installed i3 from the Fedora repository, and on my laptop I'm running Manjaro i3, and it is also a great system, and Manjaro i3 has very beautiful and very useful configurations by default. And what I did is actually I just took the i3 configuration file from Manjaro i3 and I copied it over. So I made, of course, some modifications, but it is essentially, it's basically the Manjaro i3 configuration file. Okay. You can find enough videos on YouTube describing how to configure i3, how to use i3, presented by native English speakers. So I'm not going to spend so much time about explaining how i3 works, but I just wanted to share my personal experience and opinion about tiling window managers, and specifically i3. Actually, I have only tried i3 among the many tiling window managers, and the reason is that the documentation for i3 is great. So if you go to the official homepage or website of i3, there is a great user guide, and also a lot of people use i3. Maybe i3 is one of the mostly used tiling window managers, so you can get a lot of help online if you don't know something. So you can configure your workspaces and what else. For example, I defined keyboard shortcuts to open. This is the Multimedia Control. Where is it? Here. To open some applications that I frequently use. Yeah, and there is another configuration file that is pretty important if you want to make your system, your environment look pretty. It is, let's open another terminal, the come on, X resources. No, it's not that. Okay, it's not that. Come on, what is it? X resources, this is it. What's the problem? And the terminal I am using is urxvt. Yeah, this is it. And for example, in the X resources file, there's a lot of configuration here. And this is, I think I also took this file from, yeah, I'm pretty sure I took this file from, also from the Manjaro i3. Okay, and for example, the cool thing is, for example, this one. For the terminal here, you can set a background, and here you can set how transparent the background is. And for that to work, you need Compton. Compton is a compositor which is responsible for things like transparency. And what is funny, first I installed Manjaro i3 on my laptop. And by default, Manjaro i3 is beautiful. It works great. The default configurations are very, very good. So if you install Manjaro i3, from the first second you get a great i3 experience. But if you just install i3, vanilla i3, without any configurations, I mean with the default configurations from your repository, i3 is ugly. Very, very ugly. So what you have to do, either you take the configuration file from other people, or for example from Manjaro i3, or you write your own from scratch. When you install i3 and launch it the first time, you have the option to, you can tell i3 to create a configuration file with some default configurations for you, but i3 is ugly with these configurations. So you really have to build your own configuration practically almost from scratch. And that's why it's a good idea to take somebody else's configuration file, or to take the Manjaro i3 configuration file. For example, what I love about it is these fonts. These look just so cool. It's just so beautiful. Okay, what I wanted to say. I installed i3 alongside KDE. And for example, I took this X resources file from Manjaro, and I expected URXVT to look like this, I mean to be transparent, but it wasn't. The trick is that Compton will not start automatically. So you have to tell i3 in the configuration file to start Compton every time you log into i3. And you do it, for example, like this. Exec new startup ID Compton B, whatever B is. And Compton is started, and you have your transparency and everything else. Another thing, if you have more than one monitor, so you have two monitors, let's say, as I have, most probably the configuration of your monitors won't be correct, and you can set it with a application called arender. And arender, after you set your monitor configuration in arender, arender saves a file for you with the equivalent commands, and this file, this shell script, is this one for me. And you can tell i3 to always execute this script when you log into i3, and that way your monitors are always going to be in the correct configuration. Okay, what else? What else is important? Yeah, with Fech you can set a background picture. Okay, and one more thing, there is Rofi. You see how beautiful it is? It is your, let's say, start menu. So you can search for applications here. And there are a lot of applications here, so it finds almost anything like Dolphin, whatever, Firefox. And I think it's with Super Tab. No, not Super Tab. Yeah, it's with Control tab. You can switch between window. These are the workspaces. You see on which workspace which application window is open. Here you can choose an application to launch. But you know, i3 is there's a learning curve to i3. Even if you take other people's configuration files or the Manjaro i3 configuration file, because on your system you have to set up a lot of things yourself. For example, in i3 by default you do not have working multimedia keys. So you have to tell i3 what to do with your multimedia keys. And also there are some interesting things. So I don't know if i3 does or cannot do some things correctly, or I just wasn't able to configure some things correctly. But for example, the multimedia buttons adjust the volume of the wrong audio output for me. What I mean by that, for example, if I open, let's say open Pulse Audio, I think it's Super F6, yes, output devices, and if I want to adjust the volume, you see now it's adjusting the volume of the wireless headset. But the problem is, even if I set the built-in audio output as default audio output, my multimedia keys are going to are going to adjust the volume of the wireless headset. So this is something that doesn't work right in i3 for me. The other thing, what else did I want to say? Yes, Rofi. Oh yes, there is a configuration file for Rofi as well. Let's see it. Rofi, where is it? Yeah, it must be there. Come on. Okay. Yeah, there is a configuration file. So if you install Rofi, you have to create a directory called Rofi inside the .config folder. And there you have to create this configuration file, because it's not going to be created automatically for you just by installing Rofi on your system. So let's see what is inside Rofi configuration. All I did here is told Rofi to use this default, this theme, this built-in theme. And that's not what I wanted. And in that way I have this nice looking transparent window application chooser for Rofi. Okay, so once you install Rofi, there are some built-in themes that come with it, and with this configuration you can choose which theme do you want to use. Okay, let's exit. Oh, come on, I have to get used to Vim. I want to learn Vim. Okay, yeah, the issue with Rofi. I have OBS installed and it is a Flatpak. And as you see, it doesn't find it. So Rofi by default cannot see the Flatpak apps in KDE, The Flatpak apps are in the start menu. So what you can do, you can check out where your Flatpak apps are installed, because every Flatpak app has a desktop file. Mine. Come on. Oh, come on. That's not what I wanted. Okay. Now. Let's see. Yeah. So the only way I can start, I can easily start OBS from i3 is defining this key binding. And here I define this command. This command is, I have copied this command from the OBS desktop file. This is the same command that is there. So with this key binding, I can launch Rofi, even though Rofi, I can launch OBS, even though Rofi cannot see it. Yeah. Okay, but where are your Flatpak apps? Where did I put it? Yeah, it's in Flatpak apps. Let's use Nano now. Okay, it's here. So your Flatpak apps are here in var lib Flatpak app and so on. And inside the applications directory here, there is your desktop file for the given app. And from this desktop file, you can check out which command is used to open this app. Okay. What else did I want to say? Yeah, all in all, i3 is great. You know, I like the idea very much that you don't need a desktop environment. You can just have a window manager which does the tiling for you automatically, and you can configure it very easily with configuration files. You can configure the look of it, you can configure how it works. You know, you can do a lot of configurations. And what I like is here you don't really have to use your mouse. You only have to use your mouse inside the applications. I mean, inside those applications that need the mouse. But if you do, for example, a lot of writing, a lot of, for example, development or whatever, then you don't really have to use your mouse that much. And whatever, I'm just that kind of person that I like to use my keyboard. That's why I have a beautiful mechanical keyboard. I'm gonna make a video about it sometime in the future. Okay, there is a fork of i3 called i3 gaps, and actually i3 gaps is installed, on the Manjaro i3 it is i3 gaps, not vanilla i3. And the only major difference between i3 and i3 gaps is that if you open multiple windows, there's a gap between the windows, which looks nice, but I don't know. Since I have vanilla i3 here, so not i3 gaps, now I'm used to it, and I think that if you have i3 gaps, you just lose some screen real estate, which is not necessarily very good. So if you want to get started with i3, don't be worried about i3 gaps, because everybody's saying everybody's saying on the internet that the i3 gaps is the cool thing. You have to use that. You have to, if you want to be really cool, you have to use Arch with i3 gaps, which is cool. Actually, I want to install Arch on my laptop and configure i3 there from scratch, because it's just a lot of fun and you can learn a lot of things, not only about i3 but also about your system. Because, for example, if you want to configure in i3 some things, you have to know where to find some files, some configurations. You have to use command line commands a lot of times, and I think i3 forces you to learn much more about Linux, much more about your system. And as I have said, the major point for me is that it does the tiling for me automatically. For example, my favorite window manager, which comes with a desktop environment, is Muffin. It's in Linux Mint, because it's just so great with the super key and the arrows. You can tile your windows however you want, and it's very nice. But it's even nicer. You don't need a tiling window, a desktop environment. You can just tile your windows however you want them. Let's do a configuration like this. Yeah, you see? Let's check it out. Oh, it's taking some time. Okay. Yeah, you can move between windows very easily. You can send windows to different workspaces, and of course I have a dual monitor setup, so on this monitor by default I have workspace 1, on the other monitor I have workspace 2, but you can have as many workspaces as you like. For example, if I want to go to another workspace 3, I just press super 3, and I'm here, and I can open, for example, Waterfox. Yeah, I think that's it for today about i3. Yeah, I can move between my works. No, I should be able to move between my workspaces. Okay, I may have forgotten the keyboard shortcut for that, or it just doesn't work. I don't know now. Ah, I see. I only have 2 workspaces. Okay, whatever. Yeah, goodbye.